This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome. You are here on lockdown coverage, covering the entire National Football League like a blanket. It's your man, Louie Tee, here to break down the next matchup in Week 1 of the 2016 NFL season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on their division rivals in the Atlanta Falcons. This was actually a pretty good game as well. These two teams seemed to play each other very tough. And like I had mentioned in the prelude to this game and my prediction for this game, I said, look, the Bucs don't have any problems going into Tampa and winning, into Atlanta and winning. They did it last year. They swept this Atlanta Falcons team last year, as a matter of fact. And so I knew they could do this. I just didn't expect that they would. And yet they went in with the same confidence that I saw them play with in Week 3 of the preseason versus the Browns, where they were racking up yards and points in that football game. And they came out and they did the same thing in this game. And Jameis Winston continues his ascension amongst the young quarterbacks in this league. And he continues to show the leadership that made him the #1 overall pick in the 2015 NFL draft. It's fun watching him grow as a quarterback, getting more and more comfortable in Dirk Cutter's offense, his second year in this offensive attack, and he feels really comfortable in year 2, really starting to show the command that's going to ultimately take this Buccaneers team as far as they're going to go in 2016, wherever that it may be. But before we even get to any of a breakdown in this football game, let me first welcome those of you who are new to this channel, first time here. Welcome to the Louie Tee Network. Subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content now and into the future as I continue to cover the entire National Football League, like I said, like a blanket here on lockdown coverage. If you're on Twitter, also follow me on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Also on Facebook, give me a like on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page, as you can see up above. Those are my social media platforms. If you want to have your voice heard, make sure that you leave a comment using the hashtag LouieTeeLive, whether you're in the live discussion chat room or you're on Twitter. If you want your comment read, make sure you use the hashtag LouieTeeLive. That being said, let's jump into this breakdown of the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. I always like to start with the road team. That, in this case, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the things that I like from the Bucs in this football game in the first half was the offense, first and foremost. How can you not like what you saw out of this Buccaneers offense? Continue to do what they did in the preseason, which is move the football up and down the field. 17 first half points. Came out, was aggressive. Had a little bit of a lull, throughout the midpoint of the first half, and then finished strong. And I thought it was that finish coupled with the start to the second half that really blew this game open and gave them the breathing room that they needed to create the separation that ultimately allowed them to win this football game, because they built a lead that turned out to be insurmountable. And a lot of that happened from the final possession of the first half trickling into the second half, which allowed them to run away with this football game. So the offense, for me, is a huge like, and you could have go ahead and run that across the entire game. It's not just the first half thing. I think the offense was the constant for the Buccaneers in this football game. I think they actually took their foot off the gas pedal just a bit once they got the 31-13 commanding lead. But make no mistake about it, this Bucs offense is legit, and you saw it on display in this football game. Vernon Hargreaves III. Liked what I saw out of the young fella, the first round pick for the Buccaneers in this past spring's draft. Looked good in this game, made a couple of impactful plays early in this game. Saw him covering Julio Jones on a corner route and made a play on the football there made a nice tackle out in space. Thought he looked good, a guy that I think is going to continue to grow. They love him in the slot right now, but I think ultimately when it's all said and done, he's going to end up going outside a little bit too. So really like what I saw out of Vernon Hargreaves in this football game. And the Charles Sims individual effort at the end of the first half to score the touchdown, I think the Bucs were going to end up getting a field goal out of this possession. And it was some poor tackling by the Falcons, but give Charles Sims some credit. He broke about 4 or 5 tackles on this play. It was his will to get in the end zone that was greater than any of the Falcons' want to tackle him on that particular play that got him in the end zone. And to me, really jump-started the Bucs' destruction of the Falcons in this football game, because it was 10-13 at the time. Bucs were trailing. If they just come away with a field goal there, it's all knotted up at 13 at the halftime break. You got to feel like the Falcons would have come out with a little bit more intensity had they only surrendered a field goal there. But instead, the Buccaneers wrestled all of the momentum in the game away from the Falcons with that touchdown, which was a backbreaker right before the half, gives them that 17-13 lead. And then when we get to the second half, we'll talk about what this touchdown and this individual effort by Charles Sims really actually meant in this football game. Let's go to the first half likes for the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Trufant getting the interception. That was a big play for them. Gave them some confidence offensively because they hadn't really done anything to that point in the game on the offensive side of football. He gets the interception, and they ultimately put some points up on the scoreboard. So the Trufant interception, to me, was a good sign for the Falcons. I thought they would be able to build off of that more so than they did, but good to see Trufant getting his hands. He read Jameis Winston's eyes. Miscommunication on the play between Winston and Mike Evans. Evans goes outside. Winston throws it inside. Trufant, reading the eyes of Winston, takes him straight to the football, picks it off. Mohamed Sanu, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Guess who? Mohamed Sanu. I told you that I didn't think he would come in and be an impact player, but he was an impact player in this football game. Had the touchdown after the Trufant interception. Also was able to make some big plays, had a big catch and run that set up a field goal. He was instrumental in a lot of the points scored in the first half. He had his hand in just about every single one of them. The first field goal of the game, he had a catch and run down the sideline that set that up. The touchdown in the first half was him getting a toe tapper down in the back of the end zone on a nice catch away from his frame. Thought Mohamed Sanu did some really good things in this game. And if he's going to do this moving forward, this offense is going to be just fine with him as the number 2 option. What I'm not sure about is him continuing this throughout the course of the season. I've seen Mohamed Sanu do this before. This isn't a surprise. It's not a revelation. I know that he's capable of this. It's consistency that I'm worried about and that I mentioned to the Falcons fans in the offseason. The question is, can he continue to do this week in and week out? That's what's going to make him a number 2 receiver, not just one of these every so often. We'll see if he can continue to do that, but he looked damn good in this football game. Tevin Coleman. Here's a guy that I think has immense potential for this Falcons football team if he can just stay healthy and not fumble the football. Well, he was healthy in this game. He didn't fumble the football, and he got to showcase the speed. What I wasn't aware of is that he had such good hands. Didn't see that at all at Indiana. Didn't see him catch the football, but then again, didn't need to because he ran it so well at Indiana, but didn't really see him catch it last year with this Falcons team. So I wasn't aware that he had such good hands. There's a play in this game where Matt Ryan throws the football behind him. He's wide open in the flats. Ryan throws it behind him as he's running up the field. He stops, reaches back, catches it, plucks it out of the air with hands, then gets up the sidelines and almost goes for a touchdown on about a nice 45-yard catch and run for Coleman, where you got to see the speed on full display. Was tracked down by Conti, who had the angle on the play, or else he's gone for a touchdown. Tevin Coleman looked damn good in this football game, running the football, catching the football. This is the only problem I have with Tevin Coleman in this game. He can't be your leading rusher and receiver in the same game, or else you're probably going to lose if you're the Falcons, okay? Let me repeat that one more time. Tevin Coleman can't be your leading rusher and your leading receiver in the same game, or else you're probably going to lose. That means Devontae Freeman didn't have a good game rushing, or he's not even playing, which is not a good thing either way, or Julio Jones is struggling, and he didn't get the football much in this ball game, especially in the first half. Only had one catch going to the halftime break. So Tevin Coleman was outstanding, but the fact that he was their leading rusher and receiver in this game should be a cause for concern for Falcons fans. Let's go to the second half, or the first half dislikes, with the Bucs. Missed Mike Evans for a wide open touchdown on the first possession of the game. Jameis Winston had a wide open Mikey in the end zone and just overshot him. Puts that football anywhere remotely close, it's an easy touchdown. The closest defender was probably a good 3 to 4 steps away from Mike Evans. He had him beat on that play, and he just overshot him. Had to settle for a field goal, but got to get that 7 if you're the Buccaneers. Can't miss that opportunity. And I don't expect Winston to miss that pass many times, but he did miss it on that particular play. You have the interception to Desmond Trufant that gave the Falcons an opportunity to put a touchdown on the scoreboard. Again, want to eliminate the mistakes. Those things happen. Miscommunication between Winston and Evans. Those things happen. You want it to happen in a win, which it did. And now you go back to the drawing board. You clean that stuff up so that it doesn't happen in the future. You go to the first half dislikes for the Falcons. Penalties. Way too many penalties in the first half of this game, and really for the entire game. Now, I'm going to go on record as saying any game officiated by Jeff Triplett and his crew, you got to know they're going to run a tight ship. You're not getting away with anything, okay? So you got to realize who the officials are and know what you can and can't get away with. With Jeff Triplett and his crew, you can't get away with Nathan, okay? I mean Nathan. They're not letting nothing slide in the football game. So all of these penalties, if you're the Falcons, you just got to be better. You're not good enough as a football team, as you saw in this game, to overcome the amount of penalties that you had in this game. Austin Hooper with a penalty, Devondre Campbell with a penalty down the field. So those are rookies. You expect the young fellas to make mistakes, but Adrian Claiborne, inexcusable on 3rd and 2 to be offsides when your rookie linebacker Jones makes a tackle on Jameis Winston to set up 4th down and a punt, and you're offsides. You line up offsides. Are you kidding me? That offsides penalty resulted in a 1st down when they were going to have to punt, and 8 plays later, the Buccaneers were in the end zone. Those penalties hurt. Can't have them, or you lose football games like you did in this football game. Jake Matthews, talked about penalties. He was a big culprit in that first half as well, but he just struggled in that first half. Gave up a sack to Robert Ayers Jr., also had a hands to the face penalty, also had a false start penalty. Jake Matthews is the best offensive lineman the Falcons have, but he didn't look like it in the first half of this football game. I thought he struggled out of the gates, but he got better as the game went along, but he struggled in the first half of this football game. Poor tackling on the Sims touchdown catch. Again, I already talked about this. Sims with the extra effort, bouncing off of defenders, running through arm tackles, guys raking at the football. He's looking to get in the end zone. I thought that was one of the huge turning points of that first half, and we'll talk about what that meant when we get to the second half, but it was a huge play by Sims, but poor tackling on the part of the Falcons. At least 4 different Falcons had an attempt at getting Sims on the ground, and Charles Sims was able to run through all of their tackles en route to getting in the end zone and scoring a touchdown. Let's get to the second half likes for both teams, and we'll start with the Buccaneers. Opening possession of the second half was a thing of beauty. Okay, a couple of big chunk plays to Mikey, and then the gorgeous dime that Winston serves up to ASJ, and an even better catch on the part of Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Now look, Buccaneers fans are waiting for this guy to explode, waiting for him to make these types of plays. If they can get anything remotely close to this out of ASJ, this is going to be a scary Buccaneers offense, because we already know what you have in VJax Vincent Jackson, and Mike Evans. Humphreys, to me, is underrated and a guy that can hurt you from the slot. And if you can get anything out of ASJ, you see what Cameron Brate brings to the table. He's going to nickel and dime you all day long. But if ASJ can stretch the field like he did on this particular play, make these types of catches, look out for this Buccaneers offense. They will then be clicking on all cylinders. Big play by ASJ. And so let's kind of tie everything together, because what this first possession of the second half did, in effect, was it ended the first half with a touchdown, started the second half with a touchdown, 14 unanswered points. It would later be 21 unanswered points by the Buccaneers. And what that touchdown did, that ASJ grab, is it gave them the lead and a cushion of 11 points that allowed this Buccaneers team to breathe. Okay, for the first time in this game, they had a double-digit lead. The Falcons started to doubt themselves, and then it just started raining. It was raining. It started to pour after that ASJ touchdown grab to put them up 24-13 in this game. Thought that first half opening, or the opening possession of the second half, was dynamite. Jameis Winston is on my likes list in the second half. He was spectacular throughout the game. Okay, this isn't a second half exclusive like. This is a entire game like. He was tremendous. 4 touchdown passes, the lone interception to Desmond Trufant. But make no mistake about it, Winston continues, like I said, to ascend as one of the young and up-and-coming stars at the quarterback position. And he showed why he was the number 1 overall pick in the 2015 NFL Draft. He was outstanding in this game. He's been outstanding the entire preseason, and it just bled over into the regular season. If he continues to perform like this, they're going to give the Carolina Panthers a run for their money in this division. Now, you don't want to blow this out of proportion. They swept this Falcons team last year. They know how to beat the Falcons, but Jameis Winston looked damn good in this football game as he continues to grow and mature in this offense under Dirk Cutter. Mike Evans, Mikey, came alive in the second half. Told you he started out on that opening possession of the second half with some big chunk plays. It spilled over to the next possession where he caught the big touchdown from Winston to give them the 31-13 lead, their final points of this ball game. Mike Evans was phenomenal. 5 catches, 99 yards, and that touch. He looks good, and if he continues to catch the ball like that, they're going to be dangerous on that side of the football, because when he's right, when he's catching the football, he's making plays. He opens up the entire field for all of the other receivers on this Buccaneers football team, and also opens up more lanes in the running game as well. Holding the Falcons to a field goal late in the fourth quarter, okay? So the Falcons make it interesting late. It's 31-21. They've got all the momentum. They've scored 8 points in a row. Scored a touchdown, got the 2-point conversion. They're now back in this game. The crowd is starting to get involved. The Buccaneers have turned the switch off on the offense, so it's kind of hard to rev it back up once you turn that switch off. So if the Falcons can just get in the end zone here, and they're inside the red zone, they're inside the 15-yard line, if they can just find a way to get into the end zone here, you got ourselves a ball game, because now instead of needing a touchdown to tie this game, you just need a field goal. If they get in the end zone and make it 31-28, all of a sudden now Matt Ryan could pull out some heroics late in this game, take him down the field, put him in field goal range. Matt Bryant ties this game up. You go to overtime, all bets are off, okay? But instead, that Buccaneers defense buckled down. Falcons had another penalty. They get a sack, force them to kick a field goal, and that to me was the difference, because you go from 31-24, which is a touchdown difference. Now when the Falcons get the football late in the game, they need 7. They don't need a field goal. Changes the whole thought process, and I thought Matt Ryan had his worst possession of the game on that final possession. We'll talk about that when we get there, but gotta love the Falcons being held to a field goal by this Buccaneers defense. That's my final like in the second half of this Buccaneers football team. You go to the second half likes for the Falcons. Not a lot to like in the second half. They were horrible on the defensive side of the football early in the second half. Offensively, they kind of just went to sleep until this is my only like, until here. Intensity level rose once the Bucs hit 31 points. And it shouldn't take you to be down 31-13 to have you respond and come alive, but that's what happened. Now, the only reason this is on my likes list and not my dislikes list is because they could have packed it in. They could have folded. Down 31-13 at home. You get blitzed in the second half. You're not expecting it. You could have packed up and said, all right, we'll try again next week. Could have folded up the tent, but they didn't do that. They came back. They fought to the very end, gave themselves a chance, had the football with a chance to tie the game, and couldn't do so. But I thought they had some more intensity defensively, stopped the Bucs from scoring any more points after they hit 31. The intensity offensively started to elevate. You could see guys really making the extra effort plays offensively to give them a chance. But like I said, took them too long to play with that sense of urgency. You don't want to be down 18 to have a sense of urgency, and that's what happened in this game with the Falcons. That's my only like for them in the second half. Let's go to the dislikes for both of these teams in the second half. We start with the Buccaneers. And I only have one. I thought they played an outstanding second half other than turning the switch off offensively. Keep your foot down on the pedal. But the celebration penalty that Gerald McCoy and Quan Alexander got after McCoy got a sack. Look, I'm not putting this one on McCoy. You can go ahead and dance. You got the sack. You got to know better, Quan. You can't come over there and do anything that looks like a choreographed celebration. None of this together because they're going to throw the flag. All right, I watched another game, matter of fact, Sunday Night Football, where Chandler Jones recovers a fumble, and then here comes Dum Dum DJ Swearinger, who wants to come over and do the same thing that he sees Chandler Jones doing, and they get 15-yard celebration penalty. Look, don't do something great and then have it nullified by a damn penalty, okay? That was dumb. So that was my only gripe with them. You know, you get Gerald McCoy getting a sack, and here comes Quan Alexander. I know you want to celebrate. You want to have fun. I get it. I understand. Don't pick up a penalty behind that, though. Come on. Don't do that. That was my only dislike for the Bucs in the second half. You go to the Falcons, and there are a lot of dislikes, as you could imagine, when you give up the amount of points they gave up in that second half, the 14 points, after giving up 17 in the first half. But really, that last touchdown of the first half, to me, was an extension of what happened in the second half. So it kind of all bleeds together for me. Chris Chester getting a penalty along with Robert Alford getting a penalty, both of them 15-yard varieties. I don't have a problem with the Chris Chester one. You got a linebacker being a little aggressive with your lineman, your running back, whomever. You push him off. You know, the second guy gets caught, whatever. I get it. But the Robert Alford penalty was dumb. Okay, you're jawing back and forth with Mikey, and then the referee's trying to part you, and you push him in the face. You smush him right in front of the official. You think you're not going to get a flag for that, bro? Well, I mean, where's the psychological sense there? You need to wash your face if you think that's smart. That's dumb football, man. That's low IQ football, and that's what head coach Dan Quinn was talking about when he said, we got to clean up the damn penalties, man. This is ridiculous. And it was. The penalties were rampant in the first half. The penalties were rampant in the second half. And I thought the penalties got worse in the second half because they were stupid penalties. They were boneheaded penalties. They weren't physical penalties where you just get beat on the play. They were dumb penalties where you could avoid, but you were doing stuff because mentally you weren't where you needed to be. Can't have that. You're not a good enough team, as I said before, to get away with those types of things. This defense was on my dislikes list. Giving it up, big plays in that second half, the ASJ big touchdown catch, the Mike E touchdown over two defenders. Perfectly thrown footballs, not much you can do, but you can't give those up if you are the Atlanta Falcons. I just thought this defense, they didn't tackle well in this game. I saw a lot of missed tackles. Doug Martin jumping around, slithering. Charles Sims doing much of the same. Just thought this defense that started out well in this game fizzled towards the end. Julio Jones with a huge drop in this game down the field. I thought the Falcons had the momentum. They had just scored a touchdown, tacked on the two-point conversion. They were coming. And the intensity, like I said, had been elevated. They were playing confident football. Matt Ryan goes deep to Julio Jones. If he catches that, I think it just gets the crowd more involved, gets everybody feeling like, hey, we can do this. He drops that football. They ultimately have to punt on that possession. Those are the types of plays you got to make. Normally he does, but he didn't make that particular play. And he was a little banged up in this football game. Don't know if that had anything to do with that particular drop or not. Settling for a field goal. I talked about the Buccaneers clamping down late in the fourth quarter when the Falcons had a chance to cut the deficit to 3 with a touchdown. this Falcons team has to find a way to get in the end zone there. Remember, last year, part of the problem was red zone efficiency, not turning it over and getting into the end zone. They had a problem with that last year. Well, they didn't turn it over in the red zone in this game. They just failed to get in the end zone when they needed a touchdown, and that really hurt them because it changed the whole scenario at the end. Instead of Matt Ryan with a timeout or two in his back pocket or no timeouts and a minute 32 left needing a field goal, they needed a touchdown. It changes your whole mindset when you're put into that situation late in the ball game. And Matt Ryan on the final possession of the game is my final dislike in this football game. Thought he was horrible. Thought it was his worst possession of the game. I actually was going to give Matt Ryan a bunch of props, and he still deserves it. I think he was 23 or 33 for 3 and some change in this game. He played well, 27 to 39 for 334 and 2 touchdowns. Thought he played well, but that final possession, when he used to make the claim that he was Matty Ice, when he was actually in the prime of his career, making plays and bringing his team back, these are the types of moments that he lived for when he would play his best football. Now this is when he plays his worst football. First down, got Julio Jones open over the middle of the field, throws it behind him, incomplete. Second down, has Mohamed Sanu open up the seam on the opposite side of the field, throws it behind him, incomplete. Third down, he has to run away from some pressure, throws it out of bounds, and then fourth down, to no avail. They lose the football game. Again, Matt Ryan has to play better in clutch situations. Thought this was his worst possession of the game. Couple of opportunities to get some chunk plays, wasn't able to do so. Falcons lose this football game 31-24. So, tough one to stomach if you're the Falcons. Dropping not only a home game, but a home game inside the division. Those sting double time. So, a big win for the Buccaneers to go on the road and get it done in the division. Got to feel good if you're a Buccaneers fan getting this one done. Let's go to Twitter and see if there's anything here from you guys. So I'll check the hashtag and see if there's anything. No action on the hashtag. And I'll check quickly. See, Rarely Even says, Lou, my man, I have 2 words to describe this performance. Famous Jameis. And you're right, man. He was outstanding in this football game, and he continues to grow and mature right before our very eyes. He's a natural-born leader. We saw that at Florida State. You're seeing it more so in the NFL. And what he's doing is he's taking command of not only this offense, but this entire team. He's galvanizing this team. And if he continues to play the way that he's playing at the quarterback position, his play is going to elevate the play of others around him. And that's what great players do. They not only elevate their own play, but they elevate the play of those around them. And that's going to bleed over to the defense. They're going to start making plays. And then this thing is just going to become something that the Buccaneers can rally around and ultimately give them an opportunity to make some noise in this NFC South division. But I will say Matt Ryan, I actually was impressed with him in this game. The biggest issue I have with the Falcons is the same thing I've been crying about all offseason, the lack of pass rush. There's nobody hitting home. Jameis Winston had too much time in his football game, and that's why he was able to carve this team up for 4 touchdown passes, get some pressure on the quarterback, and if that means blitzing, then so be it. No, there was no Keanu Neal. That hurts them, but you need to get pressure if you're the Falcons. They failed to do so in this game, and it cost them big time. So that's going to do it for me, as there are no more comments. I thank you guys for joining me in this breakdown of Bucs and Falcons here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. You've watched another edition of Lockdown Coverage. Much more to come from week 1 in the National Football League. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I'll see you in a bit. Got more games to break down in week 1 of the National Football League. See you next time.